Vrindavan. And in that forest of Vrindavan, when Krishna was very young, Kamsa used to send many, many demons. Why? To kill Krishna. Why? So that Krishna was an impediment to his rulership, and he wanted to remove that one impediment, which is Krishna. So there is one demon who came. He was called as Arishtasur. He was also called Vrishabhasur. Vrishabha, like some of you know your Rashis, Mesha, Vrishabha. Vrishabha is the bull, Taurus the bull. So this demon came in the form of a bull, and this was in this area of Govardhan, where the Govardhan hill is present right now. And in the forest of Bahulavan, this bull came marching onwards to Krishna. And very easily, Krishna was very young, he killed the bull. Somebody attacks us, and we naturally retaliate. We can say we kill them. So you may say that there's nothing wrong which Krishna did. In fact, if you look at the world today, well, another entity is now killing 50,000 people these days. And if you go to the International Court of Justice, they say you can have retaliation, but not disproportionate retaliation. Right? You can have retaliation which is proportionate, but not disproportionate. Many, many years ago, after all of Krishna's pastimes ended, it so happened that there was a king by name Parikshit Maharaj. And when Parikshit Maharaj, he was killed by a snake called Takshaka. When he died, when this Parikshit Maharaj died by the biting of a snake, his son Janamejaya, he conducted a sacrifice in which he attracted all the snakes of the world from all parts and said all of them have to come and die in this sacrificial fire. They had the power. Like these days you go and you have to have a radar, you'll have to find some satellite signals to figure it out. Those days by mantras they were able to get all of them. So Janamejaya was the equivalent of the disproportionate force that you see sometimes being used now. And then the sages came to Janamejaya and said, why are you using disproportionate force? And this has also happened in the past in the Bhagavatam there's a pastime called Prithu Maharaj. Even there in that very pastime, he also used disproportionate force. But as soon as a wiser, a more devoted person came to them and said, can you stop? You have done too much. That person stopped. But in our own lives, do we stop? No. We don't stop because there is a yearning thing that I have been wronged. We live with our notion of right and wrong. On what basis do we take the basis of this right and wrong? That is seen in this very same pastime of Radha and Krishna. It so happened that when Krishna killed this demon called Arishtasur, the very gopis for whom Krishna was their life, they said, I understand that Arishtasur was coming to kill all of us. I understand we cried for help. But you are the hero, right? Just like in these days when somebody gets caught in some violent activity, they say, if you had a gun, you shouldn't shoot at the chest. You should first shoot at the leg. Try to immobilize the person. You could have just immobilized Arishtasur. You should have hit him, given him a few blows. Why did you kill him? Right? You killing a bull, which is an emblem of dharma, means you are contaminated. So those who have been saved by Krishna are now telling Krishna, you have not followed dharma. In the very land of Bahulavan, where Bahula tried to sacrifice herself, Krishna could have sacrificed himself for the bull, but he didn't. He killed. You see the contradiction that's coming up here? That's the first contradiction. And then, when this contradiction happened, Krishna said, okay, you think that I have committed sinful activity? What do you think I should do? At that point in time, all the gopis said, well, you have to go to all the holy rivers and take a bath. And what does going to the holy rivers entail? It means you have to travel long distances. You have to be clean, and we should not overeat. when we go to different places, we have to perform some austerities. So it will take a lot of time to go to all the holy rivers. And by that process of sacrifice, one becomes purified. That why did I jump to kill somebody? One becomes more tolerant. And that is why it's called in Dharma Shastras as expiation or prayashchitta. Prayashchitta has to be commensurate and sometimes more than commensurate. Or in other words, prayashchitta has to be typically disproportionate to the act that we have done. Why? It has to nip from the bud all the tendencies of the sinful tendencies that we have. And what is sin? Sin is a tendency to enjoy independent of Krishna. That's it. But how can sin come to Krishna? And so Krishna went along and said, I like you, the gopis. You said I have committed sin. So let me do one thing. I'll bring all the holy rivers. And he brought all the holy rivers to the very place where he was standing. And he created a pond. And in that pond he bathed. And he said, I'm done. He showed his superlative nature. Right? So what was Krishna seeing here? There are some two lessons that we have to learn from this pastime. And to learn this lesson, I'll have to tell you two other pastimes. Many of you know this pastime. And this pastime is that in the Mahabharata, Maharaj Yudhishthir was renowned that he never spoke a lie. He followed dharma. But there was one time when Dronacharya had to be killed. He had to say that Ashwatthama is killed. Krishna told him, tell Ashwatthama is killed. And Dronacharya and Yudhishthira was hesitant. He said, Ashwatthama, and very softly, the elephant, is dead. Dronacharya didn't hear that the elephant. And he thought, oh my God, what do I do? My son is dead. What is the purpose of my living? I can fight for this Duryodhana and all of them. Anyway, they are going to fail in this war. My son is also dead. I can also leave my body. And at that time he was killed. Many, many years later, almost 40 years later, or maybe 35, I think so. The Mahabharata gives the timeline. I don't recollect it now. The time came when Krishna had disappeared from planet Earth. And something similar happened. Yudhishthira felt Krishna has disappeared from this planet. He is no longer there. Why should I stay here? So all the Pandavas gave their kingdom to Parikshit Maharaj. They went to the Himalayas. They went near Badrinath. To the west of Badrinath, there is this range called as the Satopant range. These days, it's one of the most attractive trekking places these days. People go on winter trek, summer trek. There's a valley of flowers, Hemkund, and all those places are present there. So they went all to the Satopant because it is known that one who ascends to this place, gradually they will go back to Godhead. But in their case, something else happened. As they went on this trek, one by one, Draupadi passed away. Then the Nakula and Sahadeva passed away. Arjuna passed away. Bhima left. Yudhishthira alone remained. And he was there at the top of the hill. And then a chariot came and said, Yudhishthira, by virtue of you following your dharma, you can come in the body that you have to Swargaloka. So he goes to Swargaloka. And when he goes to Swargaloka, he sees Duryodhana enjoying in a very happy position. And he says, how come Duryodhana is enjoying here? I thought because of him some 60 million soldiers and kings died, and this fellow is enjoying here. How is it possible? Where are my brothers? So he took, so the Indra's associate took him to a place and said, okay, I'll take you there. And he heard cries from hell, save me, oh my God, it's paining, spare me. Like that, he heard all the cries. He could sense the pain of others. And then he asked, are my brothers suffering in hell? Then Indra came and said, no, they are not suffering in hell. Look at there. Your brothers are there. They are happily waiting for you. Then Yudhishthira asked, Why, or not Yudhishthira, so a question comes up here. Why was Yudhishthira made to see hell? Commonly, if you go through there is a curriculum called the University of WhatsApp. And in the University of WhatsApp curriculum, if you read very carefully, the answer that will be, when a question is asked, why did Yudhishthira see hell, even though he never committed any adharmic act, the answer that is given is, Yudhishthira spoke one lie. Even though Dronacharya couldn't hear, he said, Ashwatthama iti kunjaraha. This one elephant by name Ashwatthama died. That is the reason. But the acharyas, like Madhvacharya, say, that was not the reason. He did see hell, but he did make one mistake in his life. When Krishna asked him to tell a lie, he didn't tell a lie. What is the basis of lie or truth? The basis of lie or truth is what Krishna tells. Dharmastu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. What Bhagavan says is dharma. If Bhagavan says jump, you jump. If the Bhagavan says stay, stay. When Bhagavan says jump, we don't ask the question why. We ask the question, how high should I jump? How should I do it better? Right? This was the reason. And the reason, what our Acharya says, this is what is taught ideally in a Gurukul. Somebody may, that when the Guru or Acharya says to do something, we try to see how it can be accomplished. We may ask questions, how is it right or how is it wrong? But we don't go against the spirit of what is being told. And that is where the connection comes to this very same point here in the story of Radha, appearance of Radha Kund, where Krishna created a pond, and that was called as Shyama Kund. Krishna said that I don't think I have done any act, but you are actually suspecting me that I have done something wrong. But so basically, you suspected me of doing something wrong. So you are contaminated. Just like Yudhishthira was contaminated, you gopis are contaminated now. So you also have to go, and they said, yes, we agree with you. So what should we do? Same punishment. You have to go to all the holy rivers. But then the thing was, when Krishna had to dig a pond, first he had to dig it. By dint of his power, he could do it. But the gopis didn't have that power. So Srimati Radharani took a bangle, and with that she started digging it. It took a lot of time to dig a hole. And then about some few kilometers away, there is a place called Manasi Ganga. And in that Manasi Ganga, there was a lake of water. One by one, they took water from there and they started pouring. And by that way, they would never finish it. And it is at that point that Krishna said, I don't think you can do it. Let me come and help. So he invited all the personality of the various rivers, and they came and filled it up. And they also overflowed from the Shyama Kund to the Radha Kund, and they both mixed together. This is the appearance of Radha Kund and Shyama Kund. But there is an important lesson that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur teaches us. He said that this demon of Arishtasur, he actually represents the common worldly weak-hearted people who try to follow dharma. Because the bull represents dharma. But this very same bull which tried to follow dharma went against Krishna. Why? Because this bull wanted to enjoy with what Kamsa is giving. In our own lives, we may come in touch with devotees. But because of our attachment to sensual activities, we may do something which will take us away from Krishna. We eventually try to justify what I am doing is right in the name of dharma. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that such adharmic bulls, or those who try to follow dharma superficially but are actually not following dharma, they have to be killed by Krishna. How? They have to be killed by the logic of Krishna. They have to be killed by the touch of Krishna. And how do we touch Krishna in our lives? We touch Krishna by the holy name in our lives. So when we chant the holy name, it is at that point that Krishna enters our lives. Right? So there is this is the other important point, that try whatever it takes to please Krishna. And to know what it takes to please Krishna, we have to learn from acharyas and from scriptures. Very important. But there is a next level of significance here of this Radha Kund, the appearance of Radha Kund. Okay. Many years after Krishna's appearance, almost 4,500 years after Krishna's appearance, this place of Radha Kund and Shyama Kund was no longer visible. It is said in the scriptures that of all the holy places in this world, Radha Kund is the most holy place. Why? It is the most holy place because it gives love of Godhead. In other places, you can let go of sins. But in Radha Kund, you get love of Godhead. Why? Because this Radha Kund that we saw, that we just heard of, how it appeared, it is not that at that moment in time when Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago that it came. It actually existed in the spiritual world. When it existed in the spiritual world, or you can ask, how did it come into being in the spiritual world? There was once a time when Krishna was fully in separation of Srimati Radharani. By thinking of her continuously, he became like Srimati Radharani. And he came as Gauranga Mahaprabhu later. But we also see, many of you are married folks here. You notice typically among married folks, those who are married for long and those who like each other very much amongst married couple. It may be a rare phenomenon, but assume it is still there. And I have seen it actually. You see that one of the partner's face over a period of time becomes the face of the other partner. For example, I can just give you an example. You take, for example, the dream girl of Indian Bollywood, Hema Malini. How she was Hema Malini, the dream girl of the Bollywood. She married Dharmendra. Over a period of time, you look at her face, it looks like Dharmendra's face. So, when Krishna was just meditating on Srimati Radharani in separation from her, he became like her and he started crying. And the tears that came out from him, that became the Shyama Kund in the spiritual world. And likewise, when Srimati Radharani, she was in separation from Krishna, she became like Krishna and her tears became Radha Kund. That very same embodiment of love of Godhead has come to Radha Kund and Shyama Kund. What does it mean? Getting love of Godhead is not a cheap thing. You have to cry for it. So it is said that those who bathe in Radha Kund, they get the love of Godhead. Which means one has to cry, that one has to yearn, I want Krishna. In the pastime of Bali Maharaj, this is the second pastime that I'm talking about here. Bali Maharaj was in one sense cheated of his own kingdom. When Lord Vamanadev came, he took away his kingdom. And what was the reciprocation or what was the mood of Bali Maharaj? Bali Maharaj said that, yes, Vamanadev has taken everything away from me, but I like the Supreme Lord. I want to see how the Supreme Lord will cheat so that he can protect other devotees. And when he was saying that, he was not considering himself as a devotee. That is the nature of a devotee which Krishna likes. We all see that one small instance when Vamanadev so-called cheated Bali Maharaj. But for that one instance, for millions of years, Vamanadev stood as a gatekeeper for Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj went to Sutala Loka and Vamanadev stood as the gatekeeper. In our own life, many times we may think something adharma is happening on me. But we should note that adharmic act on us is actually a gateway for the Supreme Lord to stay with us. What we should think about at that point in time is, may I do whatever it takes to please the Supreme Lord. If I put myself in the center and myself as a focus point, then I will not be able to relish the company of the Supreme Lord like how Bali Maharaj enjoyed Vamanadev's company. Right? So we have to be very careful that when dharmic circumstances happen, we should not succumb to adharma, but dharma is to give happiness to Krishna. And in the process, if our notions of what is right and what is wrong comes into the picture, it's okay for us to be wrong. Let whatever pleases Krishna and the devotees happen. Now we come to this next part. It is because of this that when when Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he visited Vrindavan and he visited all places in between, but his primary aim was to re-establish this Radha Kund. He wanted to see this place and re-establish this Radha Kund. And after great difficulty, he did find it. And then he told the local devotees that this is Radha Kund and this is Shama Kund, and take care of it. And what was it at that point in time? It was a paddy field. It was fully covered. There was water in it, but rice grains had started to grow. And in order to restore this Radha Kund, he sent his foremost disciples, and they were called the Goswamis of Vrindavan, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. They got back to Vrindavan and they said, oh, Mahaprabhu saw this place, etc. But they didn't restore this Radha Kund from the paddy field fully. They did some partial work. And a few years later, almost 10 to 20 years later, another disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Raghunath Das Goswami, he came to Radha Kund. Formerly, Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of a very rich merchant. And then when Mahaprabhu passed away or disappeared from this world, Raghunath Das Goswami was in intense separation. And when he was in intense separation, he felt, I should give up my body. It was at that point in time that when he was in intense separation that Sanatan Goswami said, you have work to do. You got the benefit of observing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very closely at Puri. So come here, stay on the bank of Radha Kunda and speak. Why was Raghunath Das Goswami given this assignment? Radha Kunda, as we saw, is that place where there is intense separation of Krishna to Srimati Radharani. Raghunath Das Goswami had that intense separation, feeling of separation, and he was the right candidate. And so Sanatan Goswami said, you come and speak here, right? To Radha Kund and speak. That was one important thing. So his qualification is that of intense separation. Second, because he had a past background that he was from a very rich, wealthy family, he knew how to organize things and get things done. He interacted with the kings, with the merchants, and got the banks of Radha Kunda constructed, where there were steps, so there was a ghat that was constructed. He did all of that. So in our own lives, we often may end up thinking, I am just doing a mundane job. I am just studying 8th standard, 9th standard, 10th standard, or a bachelor's degree. How is it ever going to be used? Note for certain, if you or we or me, all of us, when we apply ourselves to the job that we have in hand, one day Krishna will use it. While we apply, while we study carefully, while we work carefully, if we give our 100% with the prayer, Krishna, please show to me how I can use it, he will give an assignment. So Raghunath Das Goswami was in the same position. He was the son of a wealthy merchant. He said, what should I do with all this wealth? I want to be with Mahaprabhu. But for a few years, he managed his father's business. And Mahaprabhu said, manage it for a few years. It was actually 1 or 2 years only. And that experience was what, again, he brought back here. So every experience in life is going to be used. And then came the next thing here. When Raghunath Das Goswami was there, Sanatan Goswami arranged for all the other devotees to come and hear the story of, or the pastimes or the leelas of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Raghunath Das Goswami. So Radha Kund became the place where all the devotees would assemble, and about 3 to 5 hours every day the pastimes would be narrated. And thus Radha Kund became the center of the expansion of Krishna consciousness philosophy and the Krishna consciousness movement. Why? Because it is at Radha Kund that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami heard this Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then he started writing it. And this Chaitanya Charitamrita is a little different. It does not even just speak about the stories or the pastimes, it gives the philosophy too, in a very condensed manner. So whoever wants to know what Krishna wants us to learn, everything is there in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is from here that the plan that every jiva should go and get Harinam and Krishna Katha. That was a center place, and that's why Radha Kund is called the center of the universe. Why? Because Srimati Radharani is always engaging everybody, saying, oh, this person is still struggling in the material world. My dear devotee, can you please go and rescue that person? Bring him to me. And that's how acharyas from the spiritual world come to the material world and rescue us. And the basis for that started in Radha Kund. So that is why the real importance for us here is, if we really want Krishna's mercy in our lives, we have to hear Krishna Katha from such acharyas, from their compositions, and most importantly, serve these acharyas. When we serve these acharyas, when we are trained by them, only then the gift of Krishna Prajna will shine in our heart. Okay. So on this day of Radhashtami, let us pray that may we get pure love of Godhead, and may we do whatever it takes to get this love. And that is a summum bonum of Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, in the Chatushloki, in the second canto, there is this verse, the fourth of the Chatushloki verses. It says, Etavad eva jignyasam tattva jignasunatmanaha anvaya vyatirekha bhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, most certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. In the Acharya's commentary, they say, you have to come to the stage of Prema Bhakti. And to come to the stage of Prema Bhakti requires an intense yearning. And that yearning can come only when we have the association of other such very elevated superlative bhaktas. Many of you are going to Holy Dham in this month of Kartik. When you go to the Holy Dham, it's Tirtham Kurvanti Tirthani. Just like Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, all of them made this Tirtham, that is Radha Kunda, even more holy. These Tirthani, these sages made it even more holy. Likewise, when we go there, we should get the association of such sages. And like our temple in itself is also one such place. Many great devotees are seated here. We should take their association very nicely. And every day yearn, my dear Krishna, I know you want to give me the highest gift ever possible. Please reveal it to me. And I depend on you. I cannot do it on my own strength. It's just not possible. Please give it. Just like Srimati Radharani cried, Sri Krishna cried, and the divine Radha Kund and Shama Kund manifested in the spiritual world, may it manifest in our own hearts. Thank you very much. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari Sriman Gaurang Mahaprabhu ki jai. Now we'll have Damodarashtakam. Now the Kirtaniyas can please come and sing Damodarashtakam.